Hi everyone. So today we are having a partnership with AnitaB.org and She Code Africa Nairobi. With me, I have Tess and Sheila. So Sheila is going to be our panelist, and Tess is also a partner now from AnitaB.org. So a little bit about She Code Africa Nairobi is that we are a community that embodies technical growth, networking, mentorship, and visibility among all levels and career roles in technology. We aim to bring women into the tech world, one woman at a time. So we have various handles. We have our global Slack channel. We also have our Twitter handle and Telegram, which I will be posting in a few minutes in the comment section. So Tess is going to introduce AnitaB.org, and then we're going to have a rundown of how everything is going to go, and then later on we'll have Sheila. So Tess.
Thank you, Velda. My name is Tess, part of the AnitaB.org Nairobi. This event is in collaboration with She Code Africa Nairobi, hosted by Velda. And AnitaB.org is a women in tech organization, non-profit organization. It mainly empowers women in technology at all levels by providing resources, mentorship, events, and talks generally about upskilling women in technology. And we are glad to have this partnership with you, Velda. Velda is also part of AnitaB.org Nairobi. She's wearing two hats here. So, yeah, and thank you so much for having us, Velda. Over to you.
Okay, so a brief rundown of how everything is going to take place. We are going to introduce the speaker, then jump into the panel questions that we have, and then later on we'll also be taking questions from the audience. So regardless of whether you have a question right now or in a few minutes, you can post them, and before we finish, the speaker is also going to handle it. So right now we have Sheila, but the next speaker is also joining in a few minutes. So yes, welcome Sheila. So I'm going to be introducing Sheila. So Sheila is a software engineer in Microsoft, and she's passionate about using the power of technology to solve problems for communities and organizations. She has a BSc in computer science from JQuat and is also experienced in working in research and software development at IBM. When she's not coding, she enjoys reading, swimming, and watching films. So yes, this is Sheila. Welcome, Sheila. So
thank you so much, Velda.
welcome. So we're going to jump into the first question, and probably if do you have anything to say before we start, or we can just jump into the questions.
Mine is to just welcome everyone who has just come live, and let's just have a discussion, have a chat, ask questions, give comments. Let's interact and learn from each other.
Yay! Yeah. Yes. So my first question is, would you tell us about how you started your journey in software engineering from when you started to where you are now? Would you briefly tell us more about that?
So my journey from my journey to becoming a software engineer, I would say, started maybe somewhere after I completed my 4th year of campus. If I'm to be completely honest, by the time I was doing my form 4, not campus, I meant high school. By the time I was doing my form 4, I was not, computer science was really not among the choices that I had in my mind as a career path. And I can't say I dreamt of becoming a doctor, because I didn't really dream that, but it was somehow already imposed on me. It's something that I was just supposed to pursue because everyone else had decided so. But anyway, I completed for Form 4, and I didn't make the cut to do medicine. Under help, of course, under job. And no one was there to pay for my further education. So yeah, I needed to find another option. And let's just say, today I'm really glad I didn't qualify for medicine, because somehow I ended up stumbling onto computer science, which ended up working out really well for me, and I ended up just being in a place where I feel like I belong and I really enjoy working. So of course, after seeking courses, I got advice from different people, interacted with other. I was lucky enough to join Equity Leaders Program, where you sort of interact with the other people, majority of whom were like top of that class, KCSE. So you interact with other people, you get to learn about different courses, different things. And when I finally decided to do computer science, of course, I went to campus, JKUAT. First year, I didn't really know what I was doing computer science to do after. The moment you're just asking yourself, yeah, went to class. I can remember we were coding in C, we were making a calculator. And then it still didn't occur to me what this translated into in the industry. So what I did is I decided to look at the different paths that I could see from that perspective. There were some of my classmates who are doing software engineering already. They had a bit of background and they were already doing it. They were getting clients and here and there and just developing code. So those are the people I followed. I joined them and I was like, I need to actually look at this from an industry perspective. And I started coding in PHP, joined bunch of guys, mostly guys from my class, and I started developing with PHP. And I would say that is where I sort of really started working towards becoming a software engineer. Yeah.
So to
What was the question again?
yeah, you've actually answered it through all the explanations you've given from how you got into computer science. So my question is, do you ever like go back to that point where you decided that now I'll have to do computer science, or choose between computer science and medicine? Would you still like, if you had the opportunity to take medicine right now, would you still take medicine?
No, and not because medicine is a career path.
Yes.
Don't mistake me. Good, it's amazing for those who can, but
Yeah.
because I've discovered computer science and the potential in it and the great heights with which I can go with it,
Mhm.
and now looking at medicine from like just with a very sober mind and what it entails, it's not really a calling for me. It's not something I think I would enjoy or want to spend the rest of my life doing.
Mhm.
It's great people who have that as a calling, but it's not really for me. And I know what computer science has and it works for me, so I would want to change. Yeah.
But the beautiful thing in software is that you can still be involved in medicine. Like you could really take up projects in medicine. So either way,
Yeah.
you still won the choices. So you still have to choose like different
Yeah.
industries that you go to. So that's really interesting. And then, like, would you say that the collaborations you did with some of your friends, the ones you mentioned that you used to like build things with in PHP, also impacted you, like they helped you learn a little bit faster than you would on your own? Or would you just describe how that part helped you be the person you are?
um I wouldn't be ashamed to fully give that interaction and the people I worked with at that time the full
Mhm.
credit of the software engineer I am today, because I tried to learn on my own and I don't know anything really. I just don't. And why am I struggling so much trying, to a point where you don't know even what to Google. So you can't Google what you don't have a clue of. So you need some kind of pointers, and it's so much easier if there's someone who knows and can tell you than spending like maybe 4 or 5 days trying to even choose. There's so many things in software engineering. It can even be overwhelming to know where to
Mhm.
begin. So a lot there if you work with other people, and I believe that is why I'd say yes, it's a great deal to have worked with other people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd like to go back to the point that you said that you cannot Google what you don't know. because it is really important, because I didn't know how like different people learn, but I also learned through the process. You said I got people who are actually in the industry, and I was like, I need to know this. I need to know what you're doing, why you're doing it. Like, how can I do it better? How can I learn doing what you do? Because I also learned this at very early time, that sometimes the knowledge that you can get value the most is from people that you are technically associate with, and you get to learn a lot of things in a short time as compared to
Yes.
when you did it like alone. Because I mean, yes, sometimes you don't even know what you're going to Google in the first place. So yeah, I really support that point. So the next
Yeah.
question would be, what are some of the challenges you've faced as a person and as a woman in technology, and how did you like overcome that? And if there are also other challenges that are coming in, we'd like to know how you're also handling the challenges.
Mm, I believe I've heard of situations where people have faced like very specifically problems just because they're women and in tech, but I've been fortunate enough not to get a specific one of those. Majority of them of my challenges have been mostly mental, all manufactured in my head to a to a good degree, from bit of imposter syndrome to bit of questioning the path, mainly because of what I've had. Maybe you need to put in a lot of hours, and how will this work out? Can I really do this for forever? And is it really
Mm-hmm.
something I want to spend my time on and my life on? Yeah,
Yeah.
so those have been mostly my challenges, which are I've dealt with them in different ways. Mostly, yeah. I can't point out to a situation where I felt like I was discriminated because I was a woman. I'm not saying that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen. I know it happens, but luckily I haven't encountered that so far. Yeah.
Okay. So you say that you faced like most of the issues or challenges you faced have been mental. So would you like give us a situation and illustrate to us like the steps that you took to like, I don't want to say get rid of the challenge, but to overcome the challenge? Like, would you give us a specific scenario of a challenge that you actually overcame and how you did that? And from the acknowledging that, yes, this is a problem or this is a challenge, how do I overcome this? Yeah.
Um, I'll talk about my experience with imposter syndrome because I've shared this before once. But when I joined IBM Research and I was in my third year of campus. As I told you, I started coding when I was in my second year. That's when I started developing with other people, and we were developing
Yeah.
in PHP. And as much as it was industry level development, it wasn't
Yes.
really, it was not fully commercial level. It was not that kind of big company level of development. And I had not really interacted with people outside of my cohort, if I were to say that, like
Yeah.
people with more experience in the industry who have developed a bit more, how they have a different perspective. And therefore, for a minute there, I just felt like I was not fitting in. Like I somehow woozed through the interview with answering the questions, but really
Mm-hmm.
like I somehow was just lucky, or you know, because then
Yeah.
I was working with new technology. I was working with Java now. The Java
Mm-hmm.
I had full experience with was not based around frameworks or web service development, or you know,
Yeah.
in my head I interpreted it as it wasn't as complex as what I was now looking at. And I at that moment I had not really ever felt that form of not belonging, and I can't really explain to you how I found out it's imposter syndrome. I just felt like an imposter for some reason, and so I started googling, oh, imposter syndrome. Oh, I realized it's a thing. Oh, so
Okay.
people do suffer from this thing. Oh, and you see, the moment you start, you reach out, sort of. even if you don't tell someone immediately, but you reach out in some form of research or try to find out what is going on with you, it starts becoming easier. It starts becoming not abnormal anymore. And yeah, so, and I realized
Mm-hmm.
I was okay with not knowing what I needed. What I was not okay was to stay in that state of not knowing. And
Yeah.
as usual, what do? I find who knows, and they somehow need to help me. And if you help me today, then tomorrow I won't need to ask you in so much detail. I'll still ask, but not in so much details. And with time, I'll get experience, and I'll be helping the next person. So I realized reaching out and asking questions, being frank when you don't know, because if you lie, you know, and then you don't know, then you have a burden of pretending you know or dying with it. You can't ask if you said you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the challenges.
That's really interesting. Like the fact that you said imposter syndrome and you also said that you didn't like trust yourself, you actually relied on luck instead of you believing in yourself is actually a thing about imposter syndrome. So it's really good that you got to acknowledge that. And now I'd like you to talk about your very first interview. Like, how was that like? How was your experience? What questions did you anticipate would be there? What questions did you find? And what did you learn on overall during that time on your first interview?
On my first interview, it was for the internship at IBM Research, and I had done my research,
Mm-hmm.
so I anticipated questions around like upcoming technologies like blockchain. And at that time, I,
Mm-hmm.
I, I can't tell now if they're still on that path because I've not been looking into them, but there were projects running around that at IBM. And so I prepared on those parts. Of course, I prepared on a broad
Mm-hmm.
sort of topics, but
Yeah.
I think doing that research and really actually preparing for blockchain questions was a really good help, because
Mm-hmm.
then I was asked questions in the topic and I was ready for that. And of course, the normal computer science fundamental questions. Yeah. And fortunately or unfortunately, there wasn't a coding challenge. Yeah.
You were lucky.
Yeah.
You just waited and you were in.
But there were so many people who interviewed and they didn't get in.
But eventually, at least you had studied something on blockchain. So I mean, you still won. So actually,
Yeah.
our next speaker is here. Tess is going to be introducing our next speaker.
Thank you, Velda. Hi, Shay. So our other speaker is Shay. Shay is from Zimbabwe. She's a technical assistant at Sebocol Limited. She specializes in design and deployment of private LTE networks. She has graduated with a BTech in electronic and telecommunications engineering. She's a software developer as well. Apart from that, she's in an African women technopreneurship empowerment. She's an enthusiast about women empowerment. She was also a former developer students club lead. So she, welcome. Sorry for the hitches before. I think you can go ahead and show yourself. Then proceed. Welcome.
Yeah, I think she has. Oh, she's here. Let's give her a minute. She's connected. She's actually getting in. Yeah,
Okay.
she's here.
All right. Welcome, Shay. Over to you.
Hi, Shay. I don't know if it's me who's having an issue. Can you hear me, Sheila? Can you-
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So Tess,
Yes, Belda.
I don't know if she can hear us.
Hi, Shay. Can you hear us? We can proceed as she tries to sort her connection.
Okay. So a few things that we'd like to go on with you, Sheila, is so software engineering, of course, it's generally not easy. So what would you give advice to somebody who's getting in the industry, as well as somebody who's also there for like probably a year or two? Like what advice would you give to people who are still there and people who want to get in?
Okay, so I'd say, well,
Such
I've not been there that long either. So,
yeah, still okay. You're still
but
learning things on the way. So
yeah, so I'd say, yeah, there's a lot of stereotypes about software engineering that are not really necessarily true. The and software engineering can be whatever you make it. And just like any other career, this easy is a bit of a tricky word because every career has its own challenges. And if you
yeah,
think about it, if you are to think about it, any what society might consider as big or whatever position, maybe a CEO, they're holding a budget for a company, they could make a decision and it goes down. They're doctors, they're holding people's lives. They're just different degrees of difficulty and challenges. And software engineering, we just have to identify the risks. And if you think about it really, I may be downplaying this, but the risks are quite low for software engineers as compared to other careers.
because you
Because
don't deal with life and death situations.
yeah, you're not dealing with, I mean, you might be in situations where you're dealing with code and you could break it and it's millions of dollars, but generally it's not. Don't get too much in your head about certain beliefs, about maybe you have to work crazy hours, or just take
Yeah.
one step at a time and think of it like math. If you really did math and succeeded at it, you can do this because same similar principles apply. And if you just take one time, I was actually listening to a certain guy on YouTube and he was saying, why is software engineering overwhelming? And the argument was, it's because there's a lot of options. To do one thing, you have like different options. Again, as I had said, you don't even know what to start with if everything is just flying on you. But if you just pick one thing and ask yourself, why is it there, or why am I doing this? And from there you start from the fundamentals going up, you'll be
Yeah.
fine. You'll be like the same way you started with math, you did add, and then you did a bit more complex things and build up onto it. So just take it easy, learn one thing at a time. You don't have to learn everything, just learn one thing at a time. In the industry, you can learn on need basis. What I need this. You just learn that, do it, and then go learn something else. And it's not that complicated, and it's not a life or death situation. Just learn what you can, take your time. It's not a competition. Yeah. Mhm.
I like what you say that it's not a competition because tech Twitter is something different.
Yeah, it's like social media, the way Instagram sometimes is just so intimidating. Software engineering can be that. And a lot
Oh
of
my God.
buzzwords, a lot of big
Yeah.
technologies. But if you really just look at it up close, you realize they're just the same fundamentals that you've been using in different situations, and it gets easier that way to understand things.
Okay. So you've said something about like learning things at your own pace, and sometimes you also have to like at times work in crazy hours. So does this lead to sometimes burnout, and how do you handle your burnout?
Okay, so as for work crazy hours, personally, I would consider that a myth, really.
Mm-hmm.
It depends. Maybe some companies, depending on your employer, maybe some companies might have that. But generally, software engineering is a career like any other. You can work from 8 to 5 and then go have a life. As
Mm-hmm.
long as you manage your time. I think the danger and the risk with it is there's a lot of freedom. No one is on your neck to be at work at 8 most of the time, as long as you accomplish your deliverable or whatever. In most cases, that is. But Jen, you're not supposed to really be working those crazy hours. Why?
Yeah.
Are you saving the world with like it's on fire and you're the fire guy? No. You're just doing your part. It's a project. It's going for
Yeah.
3 years. I need to be done with this by the end of the week. And I manage my time, I plan it well. And it should be easy to do. And you should be able to have work-life balance as a software engineer.
Okay.
Yes.
Something interesting you said about time management. So tell me what has worked for you? Like what metrics do you use to ensure that you maximize the time that you have, especially during these times? I'm assuming you don't go to the office. Yeah.
So I think being organized is key to time management under any circumstance. So, and it's a lot easier for me to wake up if I already know what I'm waking up to do. So I always try to make sure by the time the day ends, by the time I'm closing my day, I plan for tomorrow. And that helps me to make sure I maximize all the different aspects, because unless you actually intentionally plan for some of these things, like for instance, if you want to study something, maybe it's that people who are working and studying, and you have deliverables, you have work to do and deliver. Unless you plan for it, some of these things will suffer. So I just plan my time like that, and it sort of tricks my mind to feeling like it has something to attend to in the morning. So so I don't lag. Yeah,
Okay.
mostly planning, and it may work differently for different people. But if you list things, I find it, if I list things in order of execution, then I won't go somewhere else, do something else, get on YouTube, or just get lost in Netflix, because then I have a list. And if I don't, then I might burn out working midnight because I didn't do. Yes.
Okay. So you list slot time for Netflix.
Yeah, I put it somewhere around from 8 in the evening, which is a very bad habit sometimes.
But
Yeah,
at least it helps you like balance everything.
yeah. Mm.
Okay,
As long
so
as you don't just go ahead and watch until 4 in the morning.
and then you remember you still have to work and all that. So yes, I think
Yeah.
that makes sense. Time management is really important. So I have a question for Shay. She has finally joined us. So Shay, the first question is I would like you to talk about your journey and how you ended up as a software engineer.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being patient and waiting for me. My connection has not been the best, but I hope you can hear me clearly. Can you?
I can, but I think you need to like uh, increase your tone so that you get to hear because it sounds like a little bit distant.
Okay, is this better?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, great. So the thing is, I actually have to be taking a walk so that my connection gets better, but it's raining, so
Oh
can't be
my
that
goodness.
perfect. Anyhow,
Mhm.
Thank you for inviting me to this great show I've been following, and it's been really interesting to hear what you have to say, Sheila. And so, my journey. A lot of people um, assume that I'm a software engineer, which I'm not. I'm actually an electronic engineer. I have studied electronic engineering and I recently graduated. Currently, I am working as a technical assistant, and my job description is mainly telecommunications and engineering. So, software engineering is something that I just fell in love with along the way. It's something that I started exploring because of GDG when I was still in college. Um, so programming is even when I worked as a software developer, it was a part-time job during my final year.
Mhm.
But yeah, generally that's what's up.
Nice. So you say that you're a technical assistant. Would you like tell us what that entails? Like, what do you do on a daily basis? What do you work on? Yeah.
Okay. So, what happens is the company that I work for has two, co-CEOs, and one is well versed with business administration. The other is well versed with telecommunications. The companies that we work with are mines, gold mines, platinum mines, and so what they have been doing was provide connection to these mines through Wi-Fi installations and LTE, private LTE installations. So that's also part of what I do. But where I come in now is to use this network that we're providing for automation in the mining sector. So my line of work is centered on automation in the mining environment,
Mhm.
but I also have to understand and partake in installation of the network so that there's good synergy between the two.
Hmm. That's really interesting.
Mm.
Nice. So Tess has also a few questions that she'd like to ask you. So Tess.
Thank you, Velda, and thank you, Shay. So my question would be, since that you've been in the industry as both a software engineer and an electrical engineer, but on both cases, you're a woman in tech. So what are the main challenges you'd say you have faced, and how did you navigate those kind of challenges that you have faced as a woman?
I'd say that my biggest challenge, especially during this COVID period, where we have seen probably over 6 months of lockdown, has been internet connection. And evident isn't as of today. It's just a situation where you know what needs to be done, you want to get it done, but you're just stuck. You have no way to navigate around it. It's been frustrating. So I've tried different vendors. Honestly, I'm still in the process of trying to figure it out. But yeah, the internet connection has been my biggest hurdle. Otherwise, in terms of the actual work as a woman in tech, um, let me not say as a woman in tech. Let me say first of all this confusion that comes with me sort of pursuing two careers at the same time has been a situation where you get into an environment where there are assumptions about what you already know, and so assignments are based on the assumption that you know something already, where sometimes I don't, trying to get clarity around some concepts or problems to, just really understand what type of problem we're trying to solve. It's not always that people are willing to, just let on and help you out. I've faced more situations where people are expecting answers from me and no one is, willing to share any kind of information. So that's been a bit crippling because now you resort to the internet and you just have to find your way around it. So yeah, that's been.
Oh, awesome. At least you found a workaround around that, and I just hope that you gain clarity on things as you move along.
Yeah, thank
Uh,
you.
you're welcome. So my next question before I hand it over to Velda is
Okay.
from your experience, you're more of a self-taught software engineer, given that you did electrical engineer, you didn't go through the formal training as a software engineer. So how has that been for you? Despite having a passion for software engineering, I know it wasn't easy. So how was that journey for you, and how did you become even employable with the skills that you were learning on the side by yourself?
Well, it's been challenging. It's been a real challenge because, you know, I when I was still in high school, I liked mathematics very much, and it was because for me, mathematics is something that always stemmed from the first principle. So I had the basics, I had a good foundation. And so everything else came on easy because the foundation was solid. And so, because I didn't have a solid foundation in software engineering, I didn't really understand the basics. So, when you're trying to learn a new language, and with how there's always a new language every now and again, always a new framework, always a new trending something in tech. So, you're trying to keep up with changing times about something that you are clueless on. So, yeah, I think the skill aspect is what was always very challenging, trying to learn something. Just trying to practice, but I didn't have the basics of it. And then there was also the pressure of trying to stay relevant, trying to keep up with what's trending, but you also, you're just all over the place. You don't know which route to take exactly. So yeah, that's been that. And also, like I mentioned earlier, the assumption that always came of, people assuming that you know what you're doing all the time. And so oftentimes I would, try to find guidance from someone, try to, have someone mentor and guide me. And they would always, you know, assume that some things were pre-knowledge, were basic, and I should know that by then, which sometimes I didn't because I didn't have that foundation. So how then did I become employable? I don't know really. Is it luck? Is it grace? I think it's grace. But my first interview for software engineering, I failed. I think I have a lot of rejections from engineering jobs. They could be probably 100 rejections in my email, but I was persistent. I kept trying. I never gave up. I kept trying. I went through so many interviews and I failed, and I never gave up. So I think that's how eventually I got there.
Great, great. Persistence.
I know.
Wow. All right. Thank you, Shay. Over to you, Velda, for the other set of questions.
Okay. So this question will be addressed to both Shay and Sheila. Hey, Shay and Sheila. Ah. So I would like to ask, like, I wanted to ask about, wait first. Yes, how do you approach like high pressured situations when everything you have done probably to fix it goes wrong? And then would you like give us an example of this particular experience, how you managed to overcome that? So any of you could answer first. And if you also need me to make the question clear, yeah, it might be a bit weird, but yeah. So how do you cope with high pressure situations? And could you give us an example of a high pressure situation that you overcame or handled in a way? Yes.
Okay, I think I
Is that
could.
me going now or Sheila?
Sheila will go first and then you go after her.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so first, I would like to say I really try to avoid pressure situations because, I mean, no one likes pressure. But time and again, things may not work. Things you may have a knowledge gap here and there, and you just things for one reason or the other. And I would say what I find works best
Mm-hmm.
is being able to talk about it and to explain it and to sort of think of remedies for that. Like if I was to share one situation I had last week, it's not it's not the most appropriate example because this pressure was mostly coming from myself. I had been working on a certain PR, that's a pull request, for a couple, like 2 weeks, and
Mm-hmm.
we were having a week where we're not working on something on the normal work. We were going to be doing something different, and I really needed this to go out by Friday
Yeah.
of last week. And so it's Thursday, and I'm trying to build, and there's just bags of tests failing, tests that don't relate to me. I don't understand. So, of course, I got a bit worried, and I just trying to debug, and you're trying to find solutions. You're seeking assistance from other people, and the situation is not really resolving itself. And come Friday, the error is still there. You've advanced a bit, but you have a different plan. You still have issues, and yeah, Friday is the last day of the week, and you need this to go. So I can't say I resolved the issue because I still have the issue with me.
I
But
was hoping for happy ending.
it got to a point it was quite frustrating because I
Mhm.
needed this to work. I just wanted, when I come back after the week, I want to work on something different, or just advance on another thing. I want this to have gone. But I think it's just accept that things might not work sometimes. Try your best, communicate with your teammates. Communication is key because then people will know that this is holding out because of this, or you're experiencing certain errors. They'll be able to help where they can. And at the end of the day, they're all human, and we all have one of those days, and you could touch something and things break, and then what? Are you going to die, or are you going to, you have to be careful, yes, but you also have to be comfortable with a bit of pressure, a bit of hurry here and there. But at the end of the day, you just need to be comfortable with the people around you, because that's what controls pressure and that level, those kinds of discomfort in our work environment. Yeah.
Nice. That was a really detailed experience. So, Shay, you can now tell us about your experience on having like had pressure and how you resolved that.
Well, I like what Sheila said. Sheila said, I can't say that I have resolved it yet because it's still on my desk. And I think that's true for a lot of situations. Um, it's not always that we have a solution to the problems that we face. So, one thing, the first thing is to always know that this too shall pass. It's not the end of the world. Of course, this is pressing, but you can only do your best as a human being. You can't, control everything. So that's something because I think my nature being sort of a perfectionist, I always wanted to have all the answers. I always wanted to do everything right, to always get the stars. But I've got to a place where I've learned that it's not always that things are going to go my way. It's not always that I'm going to perform excellently. It's not always that I'm going to have the answers. So sometimes I just need to accept and, give it my best without putting myself under pressure. Otherwise, times when I find myself under pressure is usually Monday and Friday. I don't know how those days are complete opposites, but similar somehow. Um, and it's usually a situation where you have a technical deliverable. It needs you to focus, it needs your brain, and you also have clients to deal with and suppliers to deal with. So it's two different worlds. On one end, you need to be interactive, on another end, you need to be focused. It's always trying to find that balance that keeps you sane because it's more a mental fight. But the way that I try to manage pressure is to, first of all, like I said, just not feel it, not feel the pressure. Just, you know, acknowledge that, you know what, this is all man made. This is all something that I can do something about at some point. So I just need to take it one step at a time. But the other thing is to um, break down everything that needs to be done and put it in terms of priority to say, this is the most important thing. So I'm going to do this first, complete it, and then move on to the next thing. Because when you're under pressure and you want to jumble everything and you want everything to be done and complete, at the end of the day, you do nothing. So you need to um, make sure that you know your priorities, you know what comes first, and you get that done first, and you do that in that order. But you need to be ticking boxes, you need to be getting things done and not just stressing. And then the other thing that I learned when I started working, was that it's true to a certain extent that men think with their brain and women think with their heart. So, oftentimes, when I found myself under pressure, I realized that my reaction was more emotional than it was mental. So, I would react in a manner that maybe I'm frustrated or I'm worried, or it was always something to do with my emotions and not with actually logically thinking through what was in front of me. So, one way is to always try and control my emotions, try and let my brain take over, because this is work. It's nothing to do with my life. Okay, it's everything to do with my life, but it's work. It's got nothing to do with my heart. So I need to think about it logically in steps. I need to think about it in a problem solving manner, not a stressing approach, because that's not going to get anything done. So, yeah, I think that's what I've learned, and that's how I've tried to handle those different situations. Thank you.
Welcome. I really like the point that you said about trusting that you don't always have good days, or not every day that you have all the answers. At a point, you need to like take a step back and learn and acknowledge that nobody is perfect. We still keep on learning. Yes, so I think that was a really good point, and also giving us a scenario of how everything turned out for you and how you had to learn and realize that not everything you need to react to it, not as emotional, but using your mind that is mental. So I'd like to still invite Tess for the next questions. Tess?
Thank you, Velda. Thank you, Velda. So, maybe it's just an opinion from our speakers. So, what's your favorite way of finding resources? I know you've talked about how you've navigated your way through things, but what's your formula, if you have any, of finding resources online, or how do you approach getting resources online? Given that there are a lot of resources online, it's overwhelming sometimes, so you don't know where to look, and we have so many options and choices. So maybe we can go with Sheila and then Shay.
I think it depends on exactly what you're looking for. Because if you're just debugging and you're looking for maybe some form of solution to a certain problem or a certain error, it's famously known Stack Overflow works most of the time. I mean, so in short, what I mean by that, it's just Google directly. If you're looking for a course, or maybe you want to learn artificial intelligence or some broad topic, it helps to ask people for suggestions. Maybe just have a broad network of, you have your AI guy, you have your networks guy, you have your, the same way you have your guys at home to supply whatever you need. Have your guys and girls, I mean, just, have your people you can consult on certain things. People, you'll be surprised to learn that in the industry, people are very willing to help. People are very willing to have opportunities to guide and to, just guide other people, and help other people grow. So asking and Googling most of the time has worked for me. And it helps if you can narrow down to exactly what you're looking for. Again, as you've mentioned, you Google for an AI course and there are like 15 of them, more. The whole page, if you go to the next page on Google, you'll find more. But if you know exactly what you're looking for, you're likely to narrow down to the best resources. If you don't have particulars, then you're likely to be running from one tutorial to the next. Yes, and also know how you learn, because there are people who like learn from theory and just read theory. Personally, I can't do that. I like practical. There was someone who had posted this on WhatsApp meme. I don't know if it was supposed to be a meme, but it was a bit informative. Was saying like the steps of being a software engineer, and one of the points was quite interesting. I had not anticipated for it. It was saying, don't get lost. Don't get in the tutorials scam, where you're just reading tutorials, one tutorial after the next, but you can't really actually implement anything. You can't really do anything with the knowledge. You're reading, yes, but you're following the tutorial, but yeah, so I thought that was interesting. So try to find something that you can do something in practice, in practical form, something that can guide you one step at a time to actually come up with something at the end of it. Yeah.
Interesting. So focus on the practical bit and also go to the specific thing you're looking for. Be very specific about what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Shay?
Thank you, Tess. Well, when I started, especially in software engineering, what I
did was open like a lot of tabs. So I would like search a topic and I would have all these pop-ups and I would open so many tabs and I would, browse through each and every one of them, or I would browse through one and get to a place where I feel stuck. I ditch it, I go on to the next, I ditch it, I go on to the next. So I figured you know, it wasn't getting me anywhere. And part of the reason was I probably wasn't looking for one thing in particular because I didn't know what I was looking for. So my solution to that was to start identifying people that were good at particular topics. So if I want Android, Juma is the person I'm going to go to. If I want AI, I'm going to go to Tess. Have your people, like Sheila said. I started having my people because, the challenges I had were completely foreign. So I needed to have someone point me in a certain direction. So I would, I knew what I wanted to do. I didn't know how it was done. So I would reach out, get links, and start working from those links. The other thing was to, especially in the industry, there are people that have been there longer than me already. There are people that have faced the challenges that I am facing now. So they might get frustrated or annoyed when I keep asking questions, but every question I ask is an opportunity to learn. So it never discourages me to ask. I'm never, thinking twice about asking. I am relentless. I am going to ask questions because I know that this person has the answer and it might take less if I use that route. So I also ask questions where need be. And then obviously there's Stack Overflow, there's Reddit, there's, platforms that will always have the easy way out. I will use those if I'm under pressure, if I need an answer ASAP. But if I have an opportunity to learn, I prefer to ask questions.
Wow, thank you, Shay. So get your guys in order and know who to ask what. Wow. Okay. So in connection to that question about having your guys, so do you have mentors? So could you kindly touch on the issue of mentors and how do you, if you have a mentor, how do you maintain a constant relationship with your mentor? And what kind of a relationship is it? Is it a give and take? What is a relationship with your mentor? We can start with Sheila, the same order.
I was kind of hoping to go after.
Oh, you.
But it's okay.
Okay, all right.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. So personally, I can't say I have a mentor mainly because the concept I never processed the concept of a mentor to completion. I do a lot of things logically. It's a strength and a weakness. And it just I never really understood a situation where I have a mentor and I can rely on them for guidance all the time, or I never really understood that relationship in few words. So I can say I have a mentor. What I do have is a network of friends. I'll call them friends because that network has all the answers I need. And I don't have to overwhelm one person with a lot of my issues or a lot of, I don't think one single person can really, truly, fully understand me or my needs or my goals in the career or whatever. So let me just say I have diversified and I have a pool of friends with whom I feel like we're sailing in this boat together. Everyone may be in different direction or corners of the boat, but somehow I can always get assistance. I can always talk to someone about a challenge I'm facing in this way, a different person about a difference. So yeah, I may not be able to be the most helpful person in describing a relationship with a mentor.
Thank you. That was quite something different. And you don't have to have one mentor. You can have a network of friends or your go-to guys. And I believe that a sort of a peer relationship where they come to you for their issues and you go to them for your issues as well.
Yes.
Interesting. Shay?
Thank you, Tess. I do have a mentor. I actually have mentors. I have a professional mentor, and I have a spiritual mentor. And I have always, not always, but growing up, I got to a place where I started appreciating the importance of a whole person. And I figured that naturally we tend to start focusing more in one particular direction. So one might focus more on their career and neglect their family, or focus on their spirituality and neglect everything else. It's natural for us to, want to shift our focus towards one particular thing. And looking at the people that I admire, the great leaders of old, to me, they were whole people. They were people that managed to find the balance for all the facets that are in our lives: financial, spiritual, professional, all that. So I have people that are not necessarily accountability partners. They're people that are probably focused in particular directions, and they help me keep in check in those particular facets of life that they mentor me in. And I am also a mentor. I mentor young girls in tech because it's something I'm passionate about. It's something that I wish I had gotten. It's some encouragement and resources and platforms that I wish I had access to. Probably if I started out way earlier than I did, I would be in a different place now. So it's also an opportunity that I'm hoping to extend to someone that can benefit from it. So yeah.
Thank you, Shay. Shay has a different framework for how she handles her stuff, and there's no right or wrong way. So it's just what works for you. Yeah. So the next question is, apart from by the time you're getting your job as a software engineer, your technical skills you're good at your technical skills. But apart from the technical skills, what other sort of skills do you think have helped you either get that job in the first place or succeed at your role as a software engineer or as an engineer for whatever? So to start with Shay.
Thank you, Tess. I think my other skills are actually what got me there first, more than my technical skills. I think my communication skills are good. My written and oral communication skills, um, leadership skills also. I think probably from having to find my people, I got an opportunity to learn and get better at identifying talent and also encouraging it through questions, conversation. And I think that's part of what makes a good leader, to acknowledge what someone is good at and to encourage them to continue to excel in that direction, whilst obviously it's a give and take situation. And um, honestly, I think there's a lot of other skills, but yeah, I don't have my head wrapped around all of them right now.
Okay, thank you. So communication and your leadership skills have really helped you get where you are today, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sheila.
So I'd say, just to echo my fellow panelist here, Shai, communication is key. People tend to assume that I've had this, I don't know, but I've heard that software engineers or software engineering is a field for the introverts. And I don't really think that's a correct way to describe it. It's a field for all people, and it requires a certain level of being able to communicate. And especially if you're trying to learn, you need a certain level of extroversion, which does not come naturally to most people. It doesn't come naturally to me, but it's a choice to reach out, to just speak up and seek help, comment, contribute, just, communication. So communication is key. And ability to work in a team. And that goes from not just being able to benefit from the people around you, but also being of help and being able to make sure the other people also benefit from you. So being a contributor, being part of a team and sharing, a team means a team, just the same way you have football, you help each other as a team. Same thing with software engineering as a team. And it's a lot easier if you work as a team or in a team than being one man army. Yeah, and persistence, it's not a skill, but sometimes it can feel like a skill, like a job, because you have to be consistent and persistent, and yeah, just be willing to always learn, to always be learning, and to always be gaining new knowledge, coming across new challenge, improving yourself. Yeah, those are some of the things or ways of thinking or doing things that have really brought me to this point.
Awesome. So teamwork and persistence, those are your key non-technical skills that have pushed you this far. Awesome. So I'll hand it over to Velda to proceed with the questions. Velda, please.
Yes, thank you, Tess. So, this is a tricky question, but I'll try to answer it as honestly as you possibly can. So, the first question
Hi,
is,
Iman.
what is one thing that has stuck with you for the longest time? It may be a lesson, it may be probably a phrase that you use to like encourage yourself. It might be like it ranges from whatever that keeps you going. But what is one thing that has stuck with you to this point that still helps you move forward?
It's actually pretty simple for me. I
Mhm.
just say, "You got this, Sheila."
And then that's
I'm like, yeah.
that's
I mean,
really
no one was born knowing. You find a way.
yeah. So Shay, I don't know if you've had the question or should I repeat it?
Sorry, please kindly repeat it.
Okay, so my question is, what is something that has stuck with you for the longest time? It might be a phrase that keeps you going, it might be a quote, basically anything that has really stuck with you to this point.
Okay. Um. So, um, remember the facets that I mentioned? I am Catholic, and in Ignatian spirituality, we have what is called magis, and magis is a way of life. So I can't say it's something that has stuck with me. It's a way of life that we're challenged to practice, to live. And that is just being a Latin word that means better or more. And so, generally, the way of life is where you are always striving to be better, to do more. So, excellence becomes sort of your second nature because from where you're standing, you don't ask yourself, do I do bad or do I do good? Because it's obvious that you want to do good. But of the good, how can you do good better? So you're always trying and striving to go that extra mile.
uh, are you still going on, Shay?
No, thank you.
Okay, that's really interesting to hear. Like the different things and beliefs that we all have really actually matter to us differently. And yes, I am actually really amazed at your responses. So the next question is still tricky. So if you could go back in time, unfortunately, none of us is Birianen, so we can't run back. But if you could go back in time, what would you do differently? So I think we could start.
Maybe I can go first.
Yeah, you can
Just
start
to,
with Shay.
okay, great. Um, Procrastination is something that I think has kept me away from a lot of opportunities. Think of Bitcoin when it came around. If I had been the first, to buy Bitcoin, I'd be unstoppable right now. So I think what I would have done differently is all those opportunities that I had to have started earlier, to have done them that probably I did later or I'm yet to do. I would have tackled whatever came my way then and not, pushed it for later. Thank you.
Well, Sheila.
Mm. I think if I was to go back, uh, I'd start
Drama.
the software engineering path earlier. It's somewhere in high school or earlier, because then I'd be lucky to have been in the future and known I would like this. Yeah, but if I was to do, yeah, if I was to go back, I would start earlier. I would just go right to it because it's something I like, and I know I'm kind of spoiled now. It's like when you taste something and you really like it, so yeah, you already know what you want. But that's a bit of in a fiction world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think if, let's say, when you were in Form 2 and you got introduced to coding, do you think you would have taken it up as much as you did?
Um, I think I would have if I got the understanding, like a proper understanding of the implication and the impact it has in the world, and the kind of skills that it gives me and kind of opportunity it opens up for me. I think I would up and run even then,
Nice.
because yeah, I was always looking for that one thing that would make me really tick. So yeah, I think I think it would work.
I would like to invite Tess for the last question. Tess?
Thank you, Velda. So maybe the last question is actually related to previous question. So you have looked back into yourself and, you know, so there are people who are at your position now. Maybe they have done their degrees, they have completed, but they haven't, the procrastination bit and the fear bit has held them back. So what would you tell them? Because, for you, you're saying you wish you would have done it earlier. but for them, they didn't even do it at that time we did it. So what advice would you give them? What would you tell them?
I'll tell them this being, I'm trying to not, just champion for software engineering. And, I know from how I speak, it can sound like golden plates and whatnot, but there are reasons as to why people avoid it. There are reasons as to why people procrastinate it. And at the end of the day, it's, as Shai said before, it's a job and it's a career, and it needs to be something you actually enjoy doing. And therefore, what I would say is, if you really want this, then it's possible and you can do it. You just need to position yourself and get to it. Just start, I'd encourage people to start and to really dig deep and just go for it if you really want it, because if you really do want it, you will get it for sure, and you will succeed at it, because it's possible to get started. We've been there, feared, had our questions and our doubts, our worries, and that happens to everyone in every way. To start a business or to do anything, you have those doubts and whatnot. And this is a career like any other, and just get started and seek help. People are very willing to help.
Great. That was amazing. I think she has dropped off. So I don't think we have a question, Velda. If we have another question
We have a few questions from
the
but then she was addressing the questions to Shay because she wanted to know something about automation and networking. Yeah. So Shay has dropped off for a few minutes, so I hope she's going to be back to answer this question. But I don't see any other question unless you have one for Sheila.
myself. No. Thank you so much, Sheila, for the time and for the great advice. It was really an honor hosting you. So I'll hand it over to Velda to tell us what we'll do next.
Okay, so right now we are supposed to be handling the questions from the audience. So right now we only have one question, but I still have a few questions I'd like to ask before the next question is here. So that question is more involved with like the interview process that you went through or that you have gone through various like interview processes for various positions in software engineering. So what would you say is one advice that you give to somebody who's probably doing an interview tomorrow and they are very nervous, obviously, because this is an interview. It's going to depend whether they get the position or not. So what is one advice would you give to a person who's starting the interview process?
Okay, so for the person starting the interview tomorrow,
Yes.
I can't tell you to, read and whatnot. What I can tell you is to just be yourself, because one of the key things that most companies look for when they're trying to get software engineers is diversity and your unique way of thinking. Just imagine just being you. that's what they're trying to say. So don't try to be someone else. Don't try to be Sheila. Don't try to be Velda. Just be you, because what you are is enough to bring contribution towards development of certain products. And yeah, relax. I know you're nervous. I wouldn't tell you to not be nervous, because I know it's not something you have much control over, but just be yourself, answer the questions, ask clarifying questions, and most interviews are interactive sessions. Yeah, and as long as you have the knowledge and you can communicate it, you'll be fine.
Okay. I like the point that you say that you are enough, because sometimes you just feel like Do I really want to? Do I even think I'm qualified for this? You see that kind of mentality. So yes, you are enough if you're doing an interview tomorrow or any of the coming days. You are enough. I mean, the worst that can happen is they say no, but obviously you're ready for this. So yeah.
Yes.
Um, yes. So I would like to also ask, like, how's your time been at Microsoft? Like, yes, would you just tell us like how's your time there as a software engineer been?
It has been an interesting experience so far. I've been there for this is my third month. So
Okay.
of course, Microsoft being Microsoft, it's you'd expect, of course, there is a lot more to learn. A lot has
Yeah.
been a lot has been done, and a lot is still being done, and there's a lot to be done. So at the beginning, of course, it's a bit overwhelming because there's just too much information to learn. But at the end of the day, if you have managed to take each day, each item, each concept, a day at a time, learning, growing, contributing, getting stuck in bugs. It's the fun of it. It's all there. Trust me, everything you can expect, you can think it, you can expect it's there. But it's a good environment. I would encourage other people who are interested in pursuing a career, maybe at Microsoft, to apply. Be very happy to have more of you. Yeah, so it's a good place to work, and the culture is also great. Like if anyone knows the mission at Microsoft is making every person in every organization better, helping something like that. I don't know the exact words, but I've paraphrased.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and that's exactly what we do really. Make everyone better and improve everyone. Everyone is willing to help you, and you grow and improve yourself. You learn new technologies, old technologies. It's been an amazing experience. Yeah.
When I grow up, be an engineer at a Fortune 500 company. Yeah, that's
You
really
will
interesting.
just apply. Don't be afraid to apply.
I will definitely be consulting you when I'm applying for these kind of things.
Yes.
So I'd like to invite Tess to say the last remarks. Then I'll give the vote of thanks. I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to share, but we'll get to that. Yeah.
Thank you, Velda. And thank you so much, Sheila, for being able to make time, as I said again. She has dropped off. She has connection problems.
Mm-hmm.
So my last words would just be to thank our panelists and thank Shikod Africa, Nairobi through Velda, and our attendees. And we look forward to interacting with you and having more events together. Thank you so much, and you have a good night.
Awesome. So Sheila, before we leave this call, what are your parting words to us?
Okay, so I think it's great that you people organized this event. Just talk about these issues because sometimes people are lost in their minds, thinking they're suffering through certain issues by themselves. But it's really good to have a platform where people can share, can ask questions, and discuss the various experiences in the industry, can encourage more people to join us, especially women. So, ladies, my ladies, please come on. Let's join this party. Yeah, and thank you for having me. It's been an evening well spent.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for also availing your time. So I'd like to thank the audience too for coming over for this session. And I know that those of us who have always like looked forward to these sessions, I know I have. And to all those who are also joining us for the first time, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you soon. So yes, so Esther, we are going to get Shay answer your question in a few minutes, but this will be done through the comment section. So watch out in the comment section. She'll get to you. And also, if you want to contact Sheila, you can reach out to her through LinkedIn at Sheila Gidenji, and you'll get to connect if you have any more questions. So yes, that's all for today. Thank you for joining in. See you on the next session. Bye bye.